It's 2:06. It's Friday, WRMN, AM 1410, and we're on YouTube, WRMN Radio on YouTube, and this is Deano's Night Out. I'm not Deano, but he is in the panel here, and he is sitting to my left, and we are about to get things started today with a little bit of a different approach to Deano's Night Out today, as we're going to talk about issues here in the Elgin community, one in particular, and that would be homelessness. And we've got a great panel of people in here to discuss it today from the community in a number of various ways. I'm Marky B from the first shift. I'll be moderating today, and I guess playing whatever role I need to play as far as being involved in the conversation. Addressing homelessness, lessons from the Tent City fire as it occurred the night before last. We appreciate your presence as we delve into the pressing issue of homelessness in our community, especially in light of the recent fire that devastated the Tent City encampment the night before last. A significant fire erupted at the Tent City encampment in Elgin, displacing numerous individuals who had been residing there. Flames rose as high as 30 feet in the encampment known as Tent City right about 5 o'clock on Wednesday. The incident underscored the vulnerabilities faced by our unhoused neighbors and the urgent need for comprehensive solutions. According to the annual census conducted on January the 25th, the number of homeless individuals in Kane County has risen to about 540, marking an increase from the previous year. In Illinois, an estimated 11,950 people are experiencing homelessness on any given night. This includes people living in shelters, transitional housing, parks, abandoned buildings, cars, and barns. Those statistics highlight the ongoing challenges in our community in providing adequate support. And today we're joined by three distinguished panelists who bring a wealth of experience, actually four, into this critical issue. Their diverse perspectives will help us explore the immediate impacts of Tent City and its fire and the systematic factors contributing to homelessness. Our discussion begins with a few moderated questions, followed by an opportunity for audience engagement. And the phone number to keep in mind for when we do take phone calls today is 847-931-1410, 847-931-1410, and the Image 360 information line, if you want to join us that way, is 505-926-1410, 505-926-1410. We aim to foster a constructive dialogue today that addresses the challenges but inspires actionable steps towards ensuring safe and stable housing for all the members in our community. We're also on YouTube at WRMN Radio on YouTube this afternoon. If you want to join us that way, I'll keep an eye on the Image 360 information line and on YouTube. So our guests today, as we start out, right to my left is the guy that usually hosts the show, Deano Delaley. Brings a unique and individual perspective to today's discussion, drawing from his diverse career, former police officer, firefighter, firsthand experience working with the vulnerable populations in high-pressure situations. He understands the complexities of public safety and humanitarian response. Hi, Deano. Welcome to your show.
Hey, what's going on?
Guess turning on your mic would be a good thing.
Yeah, let's put the microphone on. How are you?
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Thanks for having me with you.
Thanks for being a part of this today.
I loved it. I think it's very important. That's why we took a little sidestep, and we're bringing something to the community.
Yeah, and as a part of that today, we also have Mark Smith. He's with us fresh off a trip back into town, candidate for Elgin City Council in 2025, a dedicated community leader and advocate for veterans and the unhoused, serving as representative of the American Legion Post 57 in Elgin, supporting veterans who face homelessness and mental health challenges too. So welcome, Mark. How are you, man?
I'm good, thank you, Ed. Yeah, just back from a trip to D.C., and then thanks for asking me to come in today and sit on the panel.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for being here. We have Dave Krieger with us here today, serving as the director of Elgin Wayside Center, trusted resource for those experiencing homelessness in Elgin. Years of hands-on experience, Dave has overseen numerous initiatives designed to provide immediate aid, including emergency shelter, food assistance, and case management, And following the Tent City fire, Dave has played a crucial role in coordinating resources for displaced individuals, demonstrating his community and his commitment to community-centered solutions. Hey, Dave, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Yeah, great to have you. And friend of mine, Greg Schiller, who I just thought of earlier today, would be a great part of this discussion today. He's been on with me before. A well-known advocate and organizer in Elgin, deeply committed to supporting individuals experiencing homelessness through his work with local initiatives, including coordinating community outreach efforts and donation drives. Greg's hands-on approach and ability to mobilize resources have made a tangible impact, especially during crises like the Tent City fire that took place the night before last. Hey, Greg, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to have you guys here. So there's several topics we're just going to throw out there today, and I guess we'll just go around, and everybody can feel free to jump in as you'd like to on the show today. It's Deano's Night Out, and the first topic that we're going to talk about, I guess, is the immediate response to the Tent City fire that took place. It's caused widespread concern over emergency response capabilities for the unhoused in Elgin. A survey conducted by local advocacy groups reported that many residents of Tent City rely on community shelters and food pantries even before the fire. These shelters were already nearing capacity. Pads of Elgin often operates at 90% capacity during peak seasons. So, first question to throw out there is, in the immediate aftermath of the Tent City fire on Wednesday night here in the Elgin area, what actions did the community take to assist in assisting the displaced individuals, and how effective were these measures? I don't know where to start. Dean, you want to start us out today?
You know, I guess I could. And that was one of the reasons why we put this together. I don't know that there was as many displaced individuals. Now, they were displaced because the location was under investigation, so I'm sure they've had it taped off. They were doing a fire investigation to try to determine what was the cause and, you know, what initiated the fire from the beginning. But from what I'm understanding, there was only about 4 of the huts that were makeshift huts that were made.
Structures, yeah.
Structures that were actually destroyed. So maybe you're talking 4 or 5 people. The outreach from the community was always great. There was several different businesses and individuals that felt a need right away to bring coats and bring, you know, different type of gear because it was pretty frigid that day.
Yeah.
So that was definitely nice to see the community step up and say, hey, I want to help. But as much as that's help, I don't know that that is really what was needed. And I know it's not what was needed at the time.
Yeah.
And you listen to some of the calls and listen to Chief Lally and even the fire chief, Chief Sagan, what he had to say. So, you know, it was nice that people stepped up. It's nice that people have a concern. Certainly empathy played a good role in all of that. But I think, and again, not think, what I know is we need to try to, not this panel is going to cure it, of course, but either answer some of these questions or ask even more of what can be done of a more permanent solution, you know, that's going to allow either a tent city to disappear because these folks have a place to go, you know, and these are the things that I guess really we're here to talk about. Mm-hmm. But to answer that question that was, you know, proposed,
Yeah.
I know it sounds like I'm dancing and I'm not intending to, but, you know, I don't know that there was really that many folks displaced because they're all back there, from what I understand, short of those 4 units because the caution tape has been removed and the investigation has been, you know, as thorough as they could make it, and they're going to try and find out what took place.
I think the overwhelming support that the community pitched in from this, you know, it was nice, and it shows that our Elgin community really cares. In this particular instance, maybe it was a little overwhelming and a little much, just because, and it might have just been the pictures and the video that everybody saw. I think that might have had an impact this time around. They saw that what looked to be this huge fire, and that elicited.
It looked really bad. You could see it from the police station.
You could see it from all over the place, yeah.
I have a friend that lives right next to the police station. She took a picture of it from her balcony, and you could see this huge glow back behind the library on the other side of the river. It looked really bad.
Right. And so I think, sometimes people see that fire and they're like, man, all these people need help. Well, the people that live in Tent City do need help. They need help in many different ways. But in this particular instance, it was a nice outpouring of support from the community, bringing clothes to the crisis center, to the AID outreach team that was out on Kimball, to Paul's Restaurant.
We got calls too.
Yeah. So let's bring in Dave Krieger a little bit here. Dave, I haven't really had a chance to talk much to you before, but what's your take on this situation?
So I agree with Deano. In fact, I'd say about 80%, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, 80% of our clients live in Tent City. And so we're faith-based, so I was doing a Bible study that morning, and the first thing I asked them is, is everybody's tent okay? Is everybody okay? And they were like, yeah, we're fine. And I was confused because I saw those videos as well. But the other thing is I noticed, and thank the good Lord, that there were no injuries as far as I know.
Yeah, amen.
And I think the reason for that is there's a warming center at First United Methodist down, I think, in the basement. And it's not supposed to open until December 15th, but they opened it because it was cold and windy. So a lot of the guys and gals were there, which was a good thing. So they weren't over there at Tent City. So, but we did see the outpouring. And if anything, obviously it raised community awareness that this is still an issue. We need to deal with it. We need to find out what possible solutions or temporary solutions could help. So.
Yeah. This is our special edition of Deano's Night Out this afternoon. We're talking about homelessness in Elgin. A little later on in the show, you can give us a call and reach out to us at 847-931-1410 and be a part of the discussion. I want to mention, as we talk about the different topics that we can mention today, addressing service gaps for the unhoused. In Kane County, in 2022, the point-in-time count identified 391 homeless individuals, 92 who are chronically homeless. Service gaps for this population include limited access on mental health care, substance abuse treatment, and transitional housing. For example, only one local shelter reported having dedicated resources for mental health interventions. So a question that comes from this would be, what are the most critical service gaps that exist right now that need to be addressed to support the unhoused in Elgin? And what strategies do you propose to fill these gaps? I know, Greg Schiller, you've always been involved with the homeless for a long time, and you have a lot of answers and things that you've tried to accomplish over the years, even housing people in your own garage at times, right?
And my basement.
In your basement, yeah.
Yeah, one of the problems is there's not enough street outreach. You have a lot of mentally ill and addicted individuals on the street, and there's not enough people going out to meet them where they're at. They're waiting for them to come into their offices. The resources are here. We have various, mental health resources and addiction recovery resources here in the area, but there's not enough people going out into the street and really trying to work on these people and get them to come in. I think some of them, not all of them, a lot of them are service resistant, but some of them, if there was people out there working with them, talking to them, building relationships with them right at ground zero, there would be more coming in, more getting the help that they need, and availing themselves of the available resources.
Yeah. Do you think that there's an increase in that, though? It seems like the street outreach teams are increasing.
There is more than there used to be. Back when I was doing this full time, there was virtually nothing. There was only a few of us that were out there reaching out to these people and building relationships with them. There's AID is doing a really good job of doing that right now. They've got people that are out in the street and helping.
Yeah.
But the actual, like the mental health resources, let's say like Ecker Center, okay, which is where the majority of people are going to find mental health resources. They're not out in the street. They're not doing, and I don't think they're set up to. And that maybe needs to be something that needs to be addressed in their organization to be able to reach out to these people that, really need their help. Until that happens, I don't know. My whole thing I've been preaching for years and years is a one-stop shop shelter where all of these resources are all in one place, where these people could stay, get the help they need, get mental health resources, addiction recovery resources, job placement resources, computer training, GED program, you name it, all of it right there where they lay their head. This is one vision that I've had for the solution for this, but it hasn't happened.
But you know, what you're speaking though, again, after they're into a facility.
Right.
So we still need what you're
We need
talking.
the outreach in the street.
And I like that word better than the old boots on the ground. But the idea is you need, like, police departments, they have what's called community policing. And that's where the officers out intermixing with the people, knowing what's going on, so they know the residents or their whoever's in that town.
You know, and I think the police in this town do a really good job.
They do an awesome job here.
They have a crisis intervention team that I mean, when there's mental health crisis, these people come out, they're trained in how to deal with these people that are involved in a mental health crisis, and they're able to de-escalate situations and deal with people without just getting heavy-handed and arresting them. The police downtown here, most of them are well aware of who's homeless, who they are, and they know these people, and they're really good at reaching out to them.
But Tent City isn't necessarily an Elgin situation. It's a
national situation.
number one, but the people that are in Tent City are just not necessarily Elgin residents. You've got people from Hanover Park coming over, Schaumburg, everywhere that knows that
Yeah.
because Elgin does have a handout situation going on.
We have abundant resources.
You have quite a
Yeah.
bit of resources out here. You're going to draw them.
One thing I can say, though, as far as that's concerned, the majority of the homeless on the street here in Elgin did in fact grow up here.
Did you say?
They did.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We do have the few. We've seen police departments from other towns throw people on trains and send them to Elgin.
Yeah.
To get rid of them. I've spoken to the individuals that this happened to. The cops just put them on a train, paid for a plane ticket or a train ticket, said don't get off until you get to Elgin.
Yeah.
And then they show up to the soup kitchen, or like tonight we're going to be hosting Street Reach, where we're going to be feeding them and giving them clothes and blankets and stuff.
Back in the 70s and 80s, when I was on, the only place was Mission Gardens, if you remember, on Michigan Avenue.
Pacific.
Oh, in the city, yeah, Pacific Gardens. They're
Pacific
still
Gardens.
there.
That was right.
They
but that
moved.
was
They're not
the
in the
only,
same place, but they're
that
still.
was the only. We had
operating.
a homeless person. You know, it was like, oh my God, what's this? So we would deal with it the best we can. The lieutenant would let us drive them into the city, stop at McDonald's, give them a couple dollars out of our pocket.
Sure, drop 'em
and
off
then
at Pacific
and they had a
Gardens,
place
yeah.
to sleep. But you know, now you have a lot more places and a lot more communities that are offering, you know, resources. And again, which is not a bad thing. I'm all for offering the resources. But when you do open it up, where are the people going to go? Hey, Elgin's got plans. Elgin's got places. You're going to get more concentrated people coming here.
When the shelter at First United Methodist Church, I ran it for the first 2 seasons, me and my volunteers. I would get calls regularly from like Lake County and McHenry County, where they had people, they didn't know what to do with them. Can we send them to you? Will you take them? And I wouldn't take them.
Oh, you would not?
No,
Okay.
no, because
Max.
we have enough homeless. I don't want to
Yeah, I
import
got you.
anymore.
I got
You know, I don't think the powers that be in the city of Elgin would have appreciated me bringing new homeless in.
Sure.
You know, they find their way here on their own, and other people helping them. I didn't need to you know, condone that kind of behavior because we already had enough problems taking care of the ones that we had.
I know we talked about veterans, you know, homeless veterans a little bit in the green room, but that we do have the Midwest shelter for homeless veterans in Wheaton, and I know there's a couple folks there that will go out in the region and look at different homeless encampments, and they'll stop by, you know, the Legion from time to time and say, hey, I was in Elgin recently, I had contact with a veteran. They definitely encourage them to try to come to, you know, our Fourth Fridays where we have veterans benefits there. We have Kane County Veterans Assistance Commission available, and then folks from the VA as well, which both offer assistance. We offer assistance at the ground, at the grassroots level as well with, you know, with different types of assistance for, you know, rent and, you know, food, that sort of things. But I definitely agree with, you know, the aspect of more out there, more outreach.
More outreach is
So-
definitely needed.
If I could jump in here, I
Dave?
hear you gentlemen talking, and we talked a little bit before the show. And I've experienced this while I've been at Elgin Wayside Center. So we, for 30 years, have operated, I think it's called now, we're saying medium threshold facility. We didn't have overnight, but we would allow just about anybody to come in as long as they behaved themselves. And the problem with that was, over time, we just were enabling folks. We have one veteran there who's been there 15 years, maybe almost 20 years, and they just come in, use the showers, do their laundry, and we were basically not helping them deal with their issues. So we changed things up. And so it's important to get the guys and gals off the street, because you know how your mother used to say, nothing good happens after midnight.
Right.
You need to be in. And that's true, and the influences are out there. So we changed things up and said, hey, if you want to come here, we need to register you. So we raised that threshold. And there's some things you need to agree to do, to sit down with a caseworker, to be referred to different agencies if you have issues. And if they don't do that, then they're not permitted to stay there. We give them a long time to deal with it. So we give them opportunities, we find those resources for them, we refer people, and so we've seen more progress than we have in the past. Now, are we getting everybody off the streets? Maybe not, because some folks don't want to do that.
But again, it's that, if I could interrupt you, it's that same situation. You're dealing with them once they're in a warm facility, where the problem seems to be, which I do like what it is, your program, because again, it's like, Corey Brooks and even with me with the Knights of Columbus, it's a hand up instead of a handout program.
That's what we do.
Somebody has to take the initiative to want to get corrected if they want to get fixed, bottom line. Whether you have, mental health issues,
Right.
That's why the evaluation is very important. Before we all say, oh, that guy's crazy, just put him off to the side. You can't do that no more, because that guy that you're saying, oh, he's crazy, maybe he really is, he has some deep-seated problems, and now there's the next guy that's going to do something very serious, harm himself or harm somebody else. But what you're saying makes, again, all the sense in the world, but I think what I'm hearing, especially Greg saying, is, how do we get to the field? What soldiers do we need out in the field, and will they talk to just anybody? It's a different
We used to
caliber
do,
of people.
we did case management out on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
We'd go into the parks and stuff and sit and talk with these people and find out what they need. And we were successful in some of them. We did get into rehabs, did get them into addiction recovery. And, today they're still housed. A lot of them we watched die out here.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of sad stories.
We've seen a lot of death.
Yeah,
in
the
past 10
closer
years.
you get to it, the more you see the reality of what a lot of these folks are going. And it's terrible what these folks are going through. I have full empathy for it all. But there still has to be some kind of a program, some time of something long term that's going to cycle through and get the help for these folks that need it.
And you brought up another part of the problem, which is, people say, oh, that guy's crazy, just put him over there.
Correct.
We have a handful of people that are on the street right now that actually should probably be hospitalized.
Correct.
But because of the state and the way the mental health system has been arranged now, there is no hospital for them.
Right. Well, you're listening to a panel discussion here today. We're going to take a little short break. We're talking about homelessness, lessons from the Tent City fire, and just where do we go from here? Where are we right now? We got some great panelists in this afternoon, like Dean DeLaley, my partner here at the radio station, and a man who's had much experience in different ways. Dave Krieger of the Wayside Center, and Mark Smith, American Legion, and a candidate for Elgin City Council. Greg Schiller, who's been a part of the homeless situation here in Elgin for a long time. We're going to come back and talk more about it in just a few minutes here on WRMN. On this, it's 2:30 on a Friday.
This is WRMN News.
I'm Marky B reporting. It's just plain stupid. The standoff between an Elgin family and Burlington-based Central Unit School District 301 over whether a student with an accessible parking placard can use it at his high school without a school parking pass is over. Sharon Hoggy said during a Tuesday meeting with school district officials they were told her son Gavin could use the placard and park in an accessible spot. Gavin, 16 years old, suffered a concussion playing soccer as a sophomore for Central High School on the JV team in 2023. He still suffers from chronic headaches and sensitivity to light and sound over a year later. The family emailed the school officials before the school year began to notify them that Gavin had a state-issued accessible parking placard, but Central High official told them he would not be allowed to park at the school because he didn't have a school parking pass. Gavin applied for a parking pass through a lottery but was not selected before the school year or in a later lottery when spaces opened following a construction project. When he parked in an accessible space in November, he was threatened with detention and a disciplinary note was placed on his permanent record. But after further review of the situation, Burlington Central has backed off. Inflation hits Christmas trees. If you're hoping to celebrate this Christmas with a sweet smell of pine, you may need to shell out some extra cash. The average price of Christmas trees has increased by 10% since last year, mostly due to inflation and drought, according to the American Christmas Tree Association. Suppliers and growers of Christmas trees have had to pay more for raw materials, labor, and distribution, causing them to charge the public more if they want to survive. I'm Marky B, and this is the Talk of the Town.
WRMN News, produced in Studio 14 by the River Media Network.
The weather is getting better, and we know it's the time when ladders and DIYers come out. Before you start any new outdoor projects, ComEd wants you to know that electricity can jump from a power line to you and the tools you're using. So maintain a safe distance from any power lines. You can also call ComEd at 1-800-EDISON-1 to have those power lines de-energized the next time you do any type of work around them. Stay smart, stay safe, stay back. ComEd, powering lives.
In the middle of the night, everything will be all right if you listen to Coast right here on WRMN, 7 days a week from midnight to 5 a.m. Each night on Coast to Coast, listeners are captivated by George Noory with discussions on news and current events, conspiracy theories, UFOs, life after death, and all things curious and unexplained. Coast to Coast, every night, midnight to 5 a.m. right here on WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Available now on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com is the book called DUI Jury Trial, which is the true story of a truck driver in Illinois who was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol. Not only was he facing a revocation of his driver's license, but also a lifetime disqualification of his commercial driver's license, which would prevent him from ever driving a semi-truck again. This book includes the backstories of the truck driver, the lawyers that defended his case, and the DUI expert witness who analyzed the case and then testified at trial as to the proper protocol procedures of the field sobriety test as well as the breathalyzer tests. This nonfiction novel also includes the actual court transcripts from the jury trial, a courtroom showdown in which the final verdict would determine the fate of the defendant's livelihood. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
So, Bash, I know you're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
It is Dino's night out this afternoon. Dino is stepping aside to my left today. If you're watching on YouTube, at WRMN Radio on YouTube, we are there. I'm checking the comments. My name is Mark. I'm from the first shift, of course, Monday through Friday, 6 until 10. We have Mark Smith here, Commander, American Legion Post 57 in Elgin. Probably hear about him a lot on the radio station, and also running for City Council this coming spring. And we have a couple of other great guests, Dave Krieger, Elgin Wayside Center, and Greg Schiller. And so welcome back. 847-931-1410 if you want to jump in on this discussion here in the next hour and a half. That's 847-931-1410 or the Image 360 information line, 505-926-1410. Greg, when I called you earlier today, I wasn't sure how involved you still were with the homeless. So you said you were on the Street Reach team. You want to tell us about that a little bit? What does that mean?
Street Reach is a long-time outreach that was founded by a man named Tony Sietta. At one time with Tony, I was his assistant director of Street Reach. That was about 10 years ago is when I started doing that. And then when I went to work for, when I started Matthew 2540, and we started running the temporary shelter at the First United Methodist Church, I stepped down from Street Reach and went and did that and got involved with some other 501c3s. Now I'm working with Street Reach. Actually, I do their security at their events.
Yeah.
But what they do is they feed the homeless every Friday night. We have clothing and blankets and toiletries. We have we'll have clinics send staff out to do outreach to them there. We'll have medical professionals that'll reach out to them, try to get them any kind of medical care that they need. It's in the basement of the Vineyard Church. We'll be there tonight. Doors open up at 6:30. We serve a great meal, and we love on them and try to show them that there's people here who care and who want to help.
Yeah. How did you, now you've been involved with the Elgin homeless population for a long time, been a newsmaker before because you've tried to keep them at your house and things like that over the years. So why are you so involved? Like, what made you become so involved with the homeless population off the bat a long time ago?
I have a heart for the homeless. I see people that are hurting and I want to help them is, basically what it is. It's got a lot to do with my faith as well. I feel I'm a devout Christian and I feel called to this, what we call a ministry. I believe this is what Jesus would do. He would meet these people in the street and love them, try to help them. But we all have free will. We can turn away, walk away, and not accept that help. But, just be there, out there, and develop those relationships and show them that there's people that care.
Dave Krieger, want to tell us just a little bit about the Elgin Wayside Center? What is that exactly? What do you guys do?
So I have to tell you that the Elgin Wayside Center is part of a larger organization. Many folks know Wayside Cross Ministries, based in Aurora. And so our emphasis is just like what Greg was saying. We believe that it's not enough just to take the guys off the street, that they need to find hope. These guys, I think, have problems with lack of trust for obvious reasons. I think some of it's justified.
That is
and
no
a lack
lie.
of hope. Yeah, right? No? Yeah.
Give hope.
And a lack of hope. Yeah, I saw that when you
Give
walked in. And we believe that hope is in the Lord Jesus
Give
Christ.
hope.
And
Amen.
so we do require folks to sit through a Bible study, but when you were talking, I was thinking someone recently said you're forcing it down their throats. No one's forcing anything. We're not mind police, so we can't, get in their brains and try to make them agree or acknowledge that we're right. But most of our guys are okay with sitting, and many of them do start to obtain some kind of hope, I think, through biblical principles and through the Lord Jesus Christ. So we do that, but we provide all the other things that they need. But here's the thing that we're changing in the near future is we, for 30 years, have been a day center, a day shelter. So we could provide things from 8:30 to 4, and then they're back out on the streets. So again, our mother's telling us nothing good happens after midnight. We've seen a lot of folks come here, also across the border, which is another whole issue. A lot of migrants who actually are very respectful, seem to want to help. They're very thankful for what we're doing. We give them a meal. They use our laundry facilities. They take showers. They get lockers. But they start to change after a while. And the reason is they're out there on the streets, and all those bad influences, people are telling them, this is how you got to survive. And we see them change their attitude, change the way they think. And so we're working with the city now, but we'll be moving from our current location on Fremont Street to over by the Elgin Cooperative or Community College. It's a building we own. Pads is over there.
Yeah.
Berkeley Street. We're going to be moving there and starting some overnight.
Didn't you used to be there?
We were there, but we didn't have any overnight. Pads did overnight, and then we did the day shelter. So now we're going to start doing overnight as well. So the folks that are now in our more structured program will have even a greater incentive to get straight, to do what they need to do, and then they'll be able to stay overnight as well.
That's awesome.
So we think that'll be sometime spring, maybe summer of 2025. So city's working with us. They've been great, but it's just all the paperwork, all the bureaucracy.
Red tape.
Yeah, red tape. So, but we're getting through it. We're changing the red tape to white. So.
Yeah. Mark, did you want to jump in?
Well, I was going to say with these two, with your, vast experience in the topics. I mean, with the influx of folks that you see come to Elgin, is that what do you see behind that? What is that reason? Is it because there's a lack of enforcement with, you know, the circumstances, or not? There's not trouble, you know, they're not getting charged, they're not getting evicted, that sort of thing, or is it because there are so many services available in Elgin that it does enable the ability to be and remain homeless?
That is probably why we have, one of the reasons why we have the amount of homeless individuals that we do, is because we do have the resources. I mean, there's a soup kitchen every night at a different church.
Yes.
So you've got dinner for the guys every night. The Vineyard Church serves a breakfast 6 mornings or 5 mornings a week. They take Sunday off because they have church services. They're not able to do it on Sunday. So you've got food, and I know Wayside was also providing lunch during your day program.
Still do.
So we have plenty. No one's going to starve here.
That's true.
Okay, if you're going hungry in Elgin, you're not in the right place because there's plenty of food. No one's going to be cold because of lack of a coat or anything like that. We have so many resources. There's all kinds of clothing resources here. Different churches doing handouts, and not to mention, when we put out the call for help after the fire, the city came out in mass and brought tons of donations over to Paul's Restaurant, and they were inundated with bags and bags and bags and bags. I dropped off bags at the shelter tonight, or this morning. They had stuff on the floor that they were sorting on 2 floors of the church. There was 2 groups of people sorting through the donations, and there was more on the way.
Some of them had to turn it off and say, "Listen,
I was at Paul's yesterday, and I had a talk with the staff, and I spoke with Elaine. She was out of town, but I talked to her on the phone, and I said, you have to start turning people away because, number one, we can't store this stuff. We're never going to be able to use all this stuff. And it's just, I was sitting there loading up my car to take stuff down to the shelter, and 4 more cars showed up, SUVs, full loads, unloading it and stacking stuff up out in front of the restaurant. It was crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, the city's great.
And I know one thing, I don't know if you were all listening this morning or the past couple of days, and I'll invoke John Priggy's name. That'll probably make him call.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
He'll like that. We're talking about him on the radio.
But anyways, he did bring up the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in the summer that, allows cities and municipalities to create anti-camping, anti-lying, anti-sleeping type of codes and violations and that sort of thing to help, help stop, or calm down the homelessness.
Well, Elgin tried doing that with their red zone, I believe they called it, which was the downtown area. If you got 3 tickets for the red zone offenses within a 6-month period, you were banned from the red zone. Didn't work.
Banned from the red zone. Huh?
Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, if you came into the red zone after you were banned, I think they would arrest you. Didn't work.
And I think just my opinion, and I think the opinions of folks that I talk with as well, we're just maybe Elgin needs to just come and be a little more transparent on where we're actually at with the issue at the city level, right? Where are we in the process? Even with some of the talks with Chief Lally's from when she was a young officer, right? It's been going on for 20 plus years or whatever. We just where's the process at, right? So we had 4 years ago, we said the city manager said we've been working on it for 4 years. 2 years ago, the council basically passed and gave $1 million towards the issue, and that's when we talked about the tiny
in
house.
2018. At that point, the city was acting as though they were just trying to hide the fact that there was a homeless problem here in Elgin, didn't want to admit it, weren't transparent about it at all. And it wasn't brought to light until somebody reported the fact that I was keeping homeless in my basement in January when it was cold, when the temporary shelter at First United Methodist wasn't opening. And that when they came to my house with the deputy chief of police and a warrant to search my house, and they threw 15 people out in the street in the middle of January. that made international news.
Yeah.
I saw articles about it in Germany, and I guess the mayor's office was inundated with phone calls. And after that, it was, okay, cat's out of the bag. Okay, now we got to do something.
And I think that was kind of what John Priggy was alluding to earlier when he was on council, basically trying to bring this up, and they were kind of like,
Yeah, they
we're not
didn't want to.
talking
They didn't want to deal with it. They
Yeah.
didn't want to deal with it. That's one of the things that I found. You know, I came here in 2013 and started doing homeless ministry, and one of the things that I almost immediately saw was the pushback from city government. They didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to be transparent about the fact that, yeah, we have a real homeless problem here in Elgin, Illinois, and we need to do something about it.
and I don't know, maybe this has been done before. I mean, I know we went full in on this community task force on policing. I mean, maybe there needs to be a community task force on the homelessness.
Yeah.
And if we can get as much gusto behind that as we did on the community task force on policing, look what that led to. It led to a
Well, I think
civilian review board. So.
One Collective is doing something like that. They've been in town working for a few years now, and they've gotten closer than anyone else to achieving the goal of having some place for the homeless to go that's full time.
Yeah, I think they actually manage it now, I believe.
They're managing the shelter now. I was working with them the other night. I know Bobby and Alex.
So I don't know if I'm stepping on the city of Elgin's toes here, but I went to an Elgin Cooperative Ministries meeting a couple months ago, and they introduced a woman who's been hired, and I apologize, I don't remember her name. She
For the
was
city of
hired by
Elgin?
the city
Yeah.
to handle or to coordinate and deal with the homeless issues. So
Jenna, I believe, is her first name,
think so,
perhaps, but I'm not sure what her last name is. Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're doing yet.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have her on the show here soon to talk about what she's doing. So with you guys being the most involved on a regular basis with the city of Elgin homeless population, then is it fair to say that in the last year or two, we've seen a dramatic increase in the numbers?
I know we have. In fact, ours started when they opened the warming center. All of a sudden, because what happens is that folks were coming from other areas, coming into the warming center, and then, word of mouth gets around, and that's how these guys sometimes learn before anybody else gets to them. And they were saying, go to Wayside, go to Wayside. So we saw an increase. We also have seen an increase in folks coming across the border.
Right.
Extensively. So
I know when I ran the temporary shelter, our average per night on any given night during the winter was about 40 people. Last year, the numbers I was hearing was 120 were showing up, and they weren't able to take them all because they're just not set up for that many people. Typically, once everything gets into full swing, now I think the numbers are 80 to 90 is what I'm hearing.
that's what I heard.
So that's double what I was seeing. So yeah, we've definitely got higher numbers.
So I mean, and clearly from what we've heard in the last couple of days, it's not a temporary issue. It's a systemic and growing issue.
It's only going to get
It's only going to get
larger.
worse. Yep.
Yeah, but the situation that we're going back to that same thing and that same question that's being raised by offering the resources, we're increasing the amount of people coming to the Elgin area, which again, it's not necessarily all Elgin residents, even though you say a lot of the homeless are Elgin.
The majority of them are.
Okay, because you have the numbers on it. I certainly don't. But that doesn't get us any closer to how do you correct it, to what the commander's saying over here, as far as maybe a little more transparency if it doesn't exist. Because there's a lot of websites, there's a lot of Facebook pages. What is the one, What's Up in Elgin, or
What's happening?
What's Happening in Elgin?
Yeah, there's a few pages like that.
You know, that was the main reason for us at WRMN, because, we want to be the neutral guys to just bring people here to have their comments. You folks on the panel, my opinions that I'm going to make are just my personal ones whenever I do, when it comes to reaching out and helping somebody. And that's why I keep telling you, I'm about the hands, you hand up, not the hand out. And I keep hearing what you're saying. A lot of what's being given is just handouts.
Yeah.
We're feeding them, we're doing this, we're clothing them, we're giving them a shelter, and they need that.
We're keeping them alive.
Yes, we are. And my faith tells me the same thing. I wouldn't turn my back.
Yeah, we're
I would put them in-
saving lives, but that's about as far as
I'd
it
put them in
goes.
my basement as well. If you get an overflow and we need to house people, I would take care of it. I have no problem doing that, me personally.
Right.
But how do we take care of this?
Plan on
as
the
a
city
community?
coming to your house and threatening to condemn your house if you don't throw the homeless guys out.
Yeah, but again, you can't blame like the city, and we can't put this on law enforcement.
No.
Law enforcement shouldn't be tasked with, oh, he's homeless, he's not, let's start going through this area. They're designed to be on the street, doing their patrol, answering calls, and then when they're called to a situation, handle it. Of course, if they see something that's growing and getting out of hand, it needs to be addressed. This is something that's
The way
growing out of
it
hand.
has been set up now, and I've been a part of this, is when the police come across a situation where they're having an issue with a homeless person, but it's not necessarily something they need to arrest them for, they will call in another organization. I've been called in several times by the Elgin Police to come and deal with an individual that they do not want to lock up, but they need to do something with him, and I'll help get them out of wherever they are. A lot of times, I've gone and pulled people out of the police station that wouldn't leave the lobby.
Well, but that goes to the street approach, back to what we're saying.
Yeah.
We need the foot soldiers.
We all need to be working together is what we need to be doing.
Exactly. So how do we get more people, I guess, then out in the street as advocates, lack of a better word, to try and counsel these different individuals?
I think
and
that-
say, how can we get you resources? Because giving them a meal, giving them a place to sleep at night, it's not helping them.
I think the powers that be that are in place that have those resources need to be sending people out and saying, okay, hey, I'm from Ecker Center. I'm here to help you with this, okay? Or I'm from this agency, or I'm from that agency. We want to get you help. We want to get you help for your mental health, your addiction, whatever's going on with you that is keeping you homeless and keeping you from being part of, normal. I hate to use the word normal, but
I know
normal
what
society.
you're saying. No one's, yeah. But, Corey Brooks does something too where he's educating like these youth, where a lot of it starts, troubled youth sometimes, but he deals with the homeless as well. So there's got to be some type of a program that we can get them, like say, employment. Maybe there's something at the Legion that you've got menial tasks at 4 hours a day. You could pay X amount of dollars, and then maybe try to find them that low-income housing.
Well, and that's
that everybody would
that's
like
one of
to
the
get.
things that I brought up with the vision I had for the low threshold shelter. You start out with a shelter that takes everybody. Okay, you work with the police department and the courts. Everybody's mandated to go to the shelter. They can't sleep in the park. They can't sleep in the tent camps. They're gone. If you want someplace to lay your head, you got to go here. If you get in trouble downtown for drinking or whatever, causing a problem, the court can either send you to jail or they can send you to the shelter, and the shelter can work on rehabilitating you. And all those resources would be available at the shelter. Okay, you want a job? Okay, we've got companies that are working with us that we can send you to and get you employed. You need your GED? We've got people that can get you ready to take the GED test. Okay, you've got mental health issues, fine. We've got people here that will help you deal with your mental health issues, deal with your addiction issues, all of it right there in one place. And the way I saw it was we could have a building that was big enough to have everybody there that would have office space where the resources that are available, like Ecker Center and Ren Center and all these different places, could actually come and use that facility. That would be like a second office for them. They wouldn't, lose anything, and they wouldn't pay any rent for that. They would just come and work.
Satellite type office.
Yeah, it'd be a satellite office for them where they can work with the population. They could come to them. And we would have this like captive audience.
You're speaking of an idea that I even said before. We had this COVID, so now all of a sudden people are working from home. Companies are saying, hey, why have all these offices? Let the guy work from home, all this automation that's out there. So now you have a lot of empty buildings. We got a ton of empty buildings in this area. Come downtown. So maybe,
no kidding.
I mean, really. So maybe if there was a way to subsidize the guy who's having a hard time now paying the taxes because he has nobody renting his property, maybe that's where the subsidy comes in, where if it's possible, and again, I don't know, but they could subsidize this property, put several floors of different people, and of course you have to evaluate them to what you're saying. Each group would be there, for a quick evaluation. And then if we have people that are troubled, we try to keep them in a certain area. But now you have to have proper security.
Yeah, you
as
gotta be
well
able
as
to manage
social.
it.
Right, but you need social worker is more important than having a police officer in there. Although you need a police officer there for, any enforcement that has to occur.
You would
because
need,
not everybody's.
you
gonna
would need
comply.
people for this kind of thing, and I can say this because of my own experience. You would need people they would be unique.
Yeah, sure they would.
Okay, the training would be unique because they would have to be first, trained in crisis intervention, and would have to know how to handle all these different personalities.
You need
that are gonna come
flexibility.
through.
You
Yeah.
need a good negotiator.
Yeah.
Is what you need.
Yeah.
You need someone that can sit there. Yeah, this guy's. When I was on the street, we'd have a domestic. And the woman's beefing about the husband's beef. What's the first thing we did? Me and my partner, Mark.
Separate 'em.
Yeah, Mark, go take him on the other side. And then when she's telling me how much of a jerk, the commander was, I says, yeah, he's an idiot. I met him on the street before. He's always an idiot. Not just appease him, but get him to calm down, and then you can get to the point of, okay, now we're at the same level.
And one of the suggestions I think you made this morning too is like, hey, we've been out, or maybe Marky B, you said it, we've been out and looked at different policing programs that
Right.
we've tried to model after. Why don't we find
Right.
a good area that is dealing with their homeless in a positive way?
That was actually John Priggy.
Okay, so
He
John,
said, that,
yeah,
look,
yeah.
how come Palatine doesn't have a problem?
Yeah.
He says, well, because you know what? Other communities like Palatine has gone to other agencies. But you see, out of fairness to even Elgin and the Fox River Valley, there's Metro West
Yep.
that I'm a member of, as well as the Hampshire Area Chamber. We belong to Elgin Chamber, Downtown Neighborhood Association. So these are great groups and great resource groups, okay? Everybody does talk, out of fairness to these mayors. Now, if they're not here at Elgin, and I don't know, I don't have the answer to it, but I'm hearing what you're saying, is that they're not communicating, Mark, to the people clearly what's going on. Oh, yeah, we're working on that. Well, we all we're working on that, but here's what we're working on. We're trying to figure out how we can do, X, Y, Z for X amount of dollars. If you give people sometimes that information, maybe that'll put them at bay a little bit to say, okay, well, here's some ideas toward that. And that's what today is supposed to be.
A little bigger than us, I think, but I
100%.
Googled Rockford homeless earlier, and
Okay.
up on their health and human services on their city site, they got housing programs, rapid rehousing, homeless prevention,
Rockford
condemnation
Rescue
relocation,
Mission.
homeless single point of entry. They have a bunch of different programs all set up, all through this chance for change.
Well, if you hold that thought, we'll address it as soon as we come right back. But you hear that music, guys, like
Yeah.
I told you. So we're going to probably get over to our hard break at the bottom half here.
Got it.
So go ahead, Mark.
We got Mark Smith and Dave Krieger and Dean DeLaley, Greg Schiller and myself, Marky B, Mark Bialek. We got another hour left, and we hope to have you. Phone lines will be open in the next hour, too. Give us a call at 847-931-1410 in hour 2 if you want to be a part of the conversation. Tom on YouTube's made a couple of comments, so I'll get to those when we get back from this top of the hour break. I've made a few notes that I want to bring up in the second hour, so the lively discussion continues. It's a Friday, and we're talking about the Elgin and Fox Valley area homeless situation. What can we do about it? Where we are with it? It's 2:59 here on the first shift on a Friday.
At the law offices of Guthrie and Brady, we are dedicated to providing high-quality legal services at affordable prices. Whether you're dealing with real estate transactions, foreclosures, or will and estates, our experienced team, including Mary Brady, the happy lawyer, is here to help. With over 50 years of experience, you can trust that our attorneys have the knowledge and expertise to handle your legal needs. Our comfortable and welcoming office, along with our professional staff, makes it easy for you to get the legal guidance you deserve. If you're looking for expert legal services you can rely on, contact the law offices of Guthrie and Brady today. Schedule a consultation and let us put our decades of experience to work for you. For more information, visit gandblegal.com. That's gandblegal.com.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 3 o'clock.
With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Credan. Brought to you by Verizon. St. Charles Police have identified a man from Indiana as the man who threatened residents of an assisted living facility with a chainsaw. 41-year-old Daniel H. Escalera from Indiana was fatally shot by police after threatening residents. An investigation into the incident is ongoing, and an autopsy is scheduled by the Kane County Coroner's Office. The Gail Borden Public Library is set to host the 1963 Chicago Bears. George Halas and the road to the NFL Championship this Saturday from 10:30 till 11:30 a.m. at the main library in the Elgin Room with author and historian Charles N. Billington. Downtown Elgin is set to host Krampusnacht 2024 on Saturday, December 7th. Participating restaurants and bars will have Krampus-themed food and drink specials all day to celebrate the season. At 9 a.m., the Martini Room is set for an ugly sweater competition as well. With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Credan.
So this new dose is, well, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Attention restaurant owners, are you struggling with grease trap issues or bulk grease removal? Look no further than Hopkins Grease Company. Serving the greater Chicago area since 1947, Hopkins Grease has been the go-to company for grease recycling and maintenance, offering a range of specialized services for restaurants, big or small. From used cooking oil collection to grease trap cleaning, their full fleet of vehicles and dedicated team of employees ensures fast, efficient service in areas like Elgin, Crystal Lake, Algonquin, and Schaumburg. And they're not just a business. They are part of your community. As a family-owned company, Hopkins Grease is big enough to meet your needs, but small enough to give you personalized, friendly service. And they proudly support America's First Responders through our partnership with America's First Responders Fest. So when you choose Hopkins Grease, you're choosing a company that gives back. Need service today? Call Hopkins Grease at 847-458-4040. We're ready to take your grease worries off your plate.
This is WRMN News.
Hello, I'm Dennis Green. Commercials for so-called junk food have been banned on television and online in the United Kingdom in an effort to curb obesity and tooth decay in children. News Nation's Elizabeth Prawn reports the same issues affect children here in the United States.
If you look at some of the statistics over in the UK, 1 in 5 5-year-olds are suffering from tooth decay. They have a huge population of children who are suffering from obesity. We're seeing the same thing in the US. So what we're going to hear is a reaction, how people are feeling the impact of these new bans overseas, and if it's something that possibly we could see here.
The ban will hit commercial broadcasters in the UK hard, with some estimating 50% drop in revenue as a result. Britain's National Health Services says healthcare issues affecting children add up to more than $14 billion a year. New clues are giving investigators a better look at what the person who shot and killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was doing before they opened fire. News Nation's Alex Caparillo is in New York City with the latest.
New reporting overnight reveals that the gunman in this attack possibly took a bus all the way from Atlanta and used a fake ID from New Jersey to book both that ride and a lodging at a hostel on the Upper West Side. At this point, that gunman is still on the loose. We're now entering our third day here. There's no clear indication that he's even in New York.
Police have released photos of somebody they said is a person of interest wanted for questioning in the attack. They also said a cell phone found at the scene was a burner phone, which is one of many clues that shows how much planning went into the attack.
WRMN News, produced in Studio 14 by the River Media Network.
If you are 50 years and older, you are welcome to join Elgin State Bank's sponsored movie days at Elgin Marcus Theater. It will always be on the second Thursday of each month. Doors open at 8:30 a.m. At 9 a.m., you will hear a very brief message from Sherry Aschenbrenner about upcoming senior events, and movies will begin at approximately 9:30 a.m. Coffee and a donut is complimentary. You can always call the movie theater hotline number of 847-888-7976 to find out what movies are playing each month. The cost is $3 if you are a member of Elgin State Bank, meaning you have an account there, and $5 if you are a non-member. And for more senior information, catch Sherry's Senior Showcase on the third Tuesday of every month at 9:15 a.m. right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
We are back. It's hour 2 of our Deano's Night Out special edition here on this Friday as we talk about the homeless situation here locally in the city of Elgin, Kane County, the Fox River Valley, with our panel of guests here this afternoon, who include our friends Mark Smith, Elgin American Legion Post 57, running for city council this spring. Greg Schiller, who I've known for a while, has been involved with the homeless for a long time. Elgin citizen who cares about the homeless. That's what we'll call Greg here today. We have Dave Krieger with Elgin Wayside Center. And we have my friend Deano over here with WRMN with a past fire and police experience. And Deano, I know before we wanted to go any further, you wanted to mention, kind of just giving a disclaimer for everything here, right?
Yeah, and I'm always the guy that's, doing that, but I'm not trying to do that today. I just want everybody that's listening to understand. That goes for the city fathers, the whole Fox River Valley, our people that we're encouraging to call in with suggestions and ideas. None of us here are politically motivated to insult or, we just want to get some suggestions and solutions if we can. Mark Smith is here today, not as candidate for council. He's here because he cares, okay? We got Dave at Wayside, had the opportunity to meet him today, as well as Greg with Street Reach. These are individuals that have been through this, individuals that have felt this. They've got that nice faith base, myself as well, with the Knights of Columbus. I couldn't turn my back on my brother. I mean, we're supposed to receive love and give love. Isn't that what our God wants?
That's right.
Now, whoever your God is, let it be. Your God is your God. But if we all act that way, if we all use our good sense and operate from our heart and give love to our brother, we could come up with a solution. And I think we're on the right path. I think we're getting there. I know, again, we had all this, oh boy, Elgin really came out and, man, they brought all these coats out here. Yes, they did. Some people just took some things out of their closet. Like I said, I could be the new John Priggy, I guess, and say it like it is. But, I mean, they clean their conscience by, oh, here, take these coats, and all they are is a bunch of torn up things that they're bringing to almost make themselves feel good. I think what we need to do is find the organization you want to get behind, whether it be the City of Elgin with what's that new woman? What's that group?
City of Elgin?
Yeah, that new lady, that new position.
Yeah, I'm not sure what her official position is yet, but
I don't know anything about her.
The homeless coordinator. A $5 donation to Street Reach, to Wayside, to the American Legion, because I'm sure, Commander, don't you have an outreach for the military?
Yes.
That have homeless situations? Yes. Okay. A $5 donation is going to go a little bit further than a knee-jerk, we got to get some warm coats because it was a terrible fire and these people don't have no jackets. We're assuming that that's what happened. And then the reality of it again, and that's why I wanted to make sure we communicated this, Elgin got out there, they extinguished that fire quickly, I tell you.
I can't believe that they were able to get it under control as quick as they did. They had to hand jack those,
again, former firefighter, there's no hydrants out there.
I was there, I saw it.
They hand jacked those hoses
It was cold.
His crew hand-jacked them hoses through the forest area to extinguish that fire. The police.
Well, yeah, they had to drag those hoses all the way across,
Chief Lally and her
the
crew,
tracks, down the hill, down to where the
100%.
fire was.
And they made sure that they did a quick search of the area, that there was nobody like under blankets or, you see a fire like that, maybe somebody was asleep when the fire occurred.
Yeah, you never know.
And he could be burnt under there.
Sure.
How fortunate this situation turned out. There was no injuries or fatalities. Amen. I mean, God was watching over these folks. It was dinner time. They were going to get the handouts.
We were all waiting to hear that somebody was found.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I thought for sure the day after they were going to find, sadly, somebody that was burrowed trying to keep warm. It was 17 degrees at one point.
And
when Mark was out
windy.
there first reporting, I was like, oh my God. And I tried to get out that way. I said, well, he's out there. No sense of both of us.
It was cold.
No, I mean, there was no need. And you weren't going to get any closer.
Those firemen, they earn their money.
They should. You know what? They should be totally. The police and fire department did their job, and then.
Oh, they were on it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I mean, and even all the social services that came out.
Sure.
And I believe public work, everybody, the
Down at
first
shelter,
responders.
we had social services down at the shelter.
Yeah.
We had crisis management people. We had mental health people, all down there to talk to
and that's who
the
you
people and help them. It was great.
Because you have somebody that's experiencing homelessness right now. You're not in the best frame of mind. I can only imagine.
No.
So
Why would
now you just lost the last of what you thought you had, if it was to be burnt up.
Right.
And again, fortunately, the report was not as many people lost things that had originally we thought. So that's pretty good. But still, in all, the trauma that this homeless person has to feel, I'm glad that social services was there. Again, we take lightly sometimes the mental health portion that all of this plays, and I think that's probably key. That's the startup point. And then we worry about enforcement and ordinances. But I think, again, we're hoping we're going to get some ideas in here. Mark's got some comments he wants to make. But again, applauding the three of you for all that you do, and the way you do it is something.
There's one thing I want to get in real quick. Yeah. Because I was asked to put this out there. If anybody wants to donate anything physical, there are only a few items that we actually need, and that is propane-powered buddy heaters and the hoses to connect them to the 20-pound propane tanks and tents. That's it. If anybody wants to show up with that, we'll be at Street Reach at the Vineyard Church tonight. If they want to drop them off at the church, that's fine.
Where's Vineyard's Church at?
Vineyard Church is at 220 Division Street, right here in downtown Elgin.
Right there.
220 Division Street here in downtown Elgin.
And we open at 6:30 tonight for Street Reach.
Yeah. So in the Tent City area, would you say, or even in Elgin as a whole, is there any guess number of homeless people that we currently have? Can we take a guess at that? And is that like a drastic increase from in the last couple of years?
We probably got about 30 people down in Tent City.
That's only about 30? I was thinking maybe more than that.
Possibly.
We have 3 tent camps in town.
I was about to say, that's our largest, but not our only.
That's our biggest
right?
tent camp,
Not
but
our
there's
only.
3 camps.
Yeah, right.
So again, at that meeting I was at a couple months ago, the woman I was referring to, someone said, or maybe it was one collective gentleman, Alex Madrid, they were saying about 120. That's
Total homeless?
Yeah, I mean, you don't see
On
them.
the
Even
street?
where we are, we have a large list, but they're not always there. So
Right.
again, we're a day center, so we see them and then we don't see them for a while and then they come back. So if you add it all up, there's probably about that
Well,
many.
this new group of homeless that we have here, a lot of them are very young, so they still have friends and stuff. On any given day, they could be sleeping on somebody's couch.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then, I've talked to several that have been, where you been? Oh, I've been on so-and-so's couch, and they got sick of me and told me I had to leave. And that happens a lot. So you'll see a lot of the population will not come to the shelter because they don't need to. They're in somebody's living room or somebody's basement.
Right.
And they're doing some couch surfing until that's no longer available. Then we'll see them at the shelters. We'll see them on the street. We'll see them at the soup kitchens.
It's 314. The number to call if you want to be involved in the conversation is 847-931-1410, 847-931-1410, taking phone calls. Tom on YouTube, and this is when Dave was talking about the movement of the wayside to the west side over there by ECC. He asked, so how does one get to the far west side, as it is a 5-minute walk from downtown to the ECC area? That's a challenge for people that are around here that are trying to access pads and will be with the wayside too, right?
Yep. So that issue has come up, and it's a toss-up. So a couple ways to address this. One is you can say, well, look, we won't do it because it's too far away. But even when we were there in the past, folks made it there. So it's amazing how resourceful these folks are. A lot of them have, PACE, free PACE
they've got the
cards,
bus
that sort of
cards.
thing. Right, and I'm not making light of it like it's a little thing. It is a little bit of a challenge. But we're also taking a look at the possibility of getting 1 or 2 vans. That's in the making somewhere in the future. So, there may be a way, once we increase our staff, that we could somehow get folks from
offering
probably
transportation
from
would be
Vineyard,
huge.
now you have to be careful with that, obviously, because people
Obviously,
want
but-
rides just to go see grandma or something.
They want to go to the dope house down on the west side.
Right, so that's not locked
there is
in.
that.
It's
Well,
not locked in
if you
yet,
make
but
it
it's something to look
if
at.
you make it a depot stop where it starts over at the wayside and it stops at the certain church or the different place that they're feeding, and that's it, and then returns back, within a window, I think that would stop
I
that.
mean, there's a ministry called Helps. It's over in Valley View. Maybe you know those folks.
Oh, yeah. I've worked with Pastor Angelo.
Right.
Yep.
And so every holiday, they provide a big meal. And folks know about it, and we advertise it as well. And they bring a van around and pick folks up at the library and so on. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but somehow folks make it work so they can be there overnight, because that's why we're moving there.
Have there always been 3 homeless encampments, or has the growth of the homeless population led to...
It was one camp. Then, if you'll recall, one summer, we had 20 or so individuals living in the park right over here by all the
Carlton
churches.
Rogers Park?
And I talked to the police, and they told me, if you can do anything, get them to leave, because if you don't, we're going to start arresting everyone. So I came up with a plan, and I found a empty forested area, and I moved everybody out of the park in Carlton Rogers Park to this forested area. That was the first alternate tent camp other than Tent City, and that was 2 years ago.
Well, at least now we got someone to blame.
Yeah, you can blame me. Me and my volunteers, we showed up with our vehicles. We took all their stuff in them, and we got them tents and sleeping bags and everything they would need to exist out in the woods, and we set them up. We figured it would be better for them to be back there than causing trouble downtown, and because most of them are addicts and they're drinking and doing their drugs, and I thought some robberies took place downtown, and I know who it was that did it, and it was part of that group that was living in the park. So we tried to take care of that, and that's when it started.
Yeah.
And now that camp has been moved a few times, and now there's a third camp.
We keep talking about solutions, and most everybody says there is no absolute solution.
There's no perfect solution.
What if there is the closest thing to a solution? What would be, and you guys, and I guess maybe we could take it one by one here, what is the best solution right now? Go with the flow, or is there something that needs to be done? Is there something that a big drastic change that needs to happen to try to make the situation better in the city of Elgin and in the area?
You guys want to take that first?
Go ahead.
Well, like I've been saying, one-stop shop shelter. I'm using Aurora's Hesed House or Rockford's Rescue Mission as examples, where you have medical clinic, you have mental health resources, you have addiction recovery, you have all the different resources that you would need to be able to help somebody get from addicted or mentally ill and homeless to being a contributing part of our society. If you have it all in one place, it makes it a lot easier. If you're working with the local courts and police and companies in the community that you can do job placements with, and the police can pick these people up on the street, bring them to the facility, tell them you have to stay here, you can't live in a tent over here in the park. If you have the courts, when somebody gets arrested for one of the nuisance offenses, hey, you can either go to Kane County Jail or you can go over here to this facility and let them help you. I think that would probably be a really viable solution. Would it be the perfect solution? No, there's no perfect solution. But I think it would make an impact to the point that we would see it. You wouldn't see the people on the street like you do now. You wouldn't have people defecating in front of businesses downtown and urinating on the walls, leaving their dirty, wet, smelly sleeping bags and clothes just laying about downtown, which they do. It broke my heart one time. I did a big sleeping bag giveaway. We were donated a truckload of sleeping bags. I gave everybody a sleeping bag, and they started turning up, being left in the parks. I knew they were my bags because they all looked the same.
Yeah.
And these guys, they got wet, and they abandoned them. They just left them laying there. A few $1,000s worth of sleeping bags. A lot of them ended up in the trash. And that goes back to the handout thing. We're doing the handout. We do it great. Elgin does the handout really great.
Yeah.
The hand up thing is that hump that we haven't been able to get over. We need to get into the position to do the hand up, not the handout.
The handout thing is just enabling, right?
Well, I wouldn't call it enabling. What it's doing is keeping them alive.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to freeze to death this winter because we have the temporary shelter. We have plenty of sleeping bags and blankets and coats and all that stuff. Everybody will be warm and covered. We have food. No one's going to starve to death. But that's about as far as it goes. It's not enough.
Right.
It's definitely not enough.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. So there's kind of a push. You were talking about pushing, going out there, and some organizations are equipped to do that, and they have the staff to do it. But there's also the pull, and that pull to me is kind of like a carrot or a stick. So, and I saw this at Wayside. We were just giving, and enabling folks. And so what I mean by the pull is if we give them an incentive where they are motivated to come to a place where all those services and helps are available, but you have to hold their feet to the fire on some of this. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And some
that's
folks
where the courts would come in and the police would come in. You can't live in a tent out here.
So
you have to go there.
Right. So
if you want to sleep someplace, that's where you have to sleep. Right. And then we have an opportunity to start working with these people.
Right.
And then it's not selective enforcement. There's been a benchmark made. Right. You have a facility for everybody to go to.
Right.
John has said it. John Prigge again. He had said if there's one spot to put people in, this makes all the sense in the world.
And then bring all the resources
and then everybody goes there. And then now you could enforce. Chief Lally was talking today. Can you panhandle on the street? Well, if you're blocking a roadway, no, you can't. But if you're off to the side and you stop a car and ask people for money, you're allowed to do that. So there's the silly loopholes. But again, if you have something that you could bring people to and get them the resources, again, that we're, I think, all speaking of, one mega facility.
Yeah, one big facility.
And again, to hand up, educate them, teach them a skill, give them employment, have employment people come in. Everyone's looking for temp services. I mean, I've worked laborer before. Come on, go work as a laborer.
Sure.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah. I worked for Ready Man back in the day when I was younger.
Yeah.
There's lots of things available, and if we could all come together and work on this, I know the tiny house. We talked about the tiny house thing. Yeah. That's been brought up before, the pallet shelters. And I'm 100% opposed to that.
Yeah, let's talk about that in just a few minutes. The reason I want to put that off is because we talked about him for about an hour now, and now he's called. So let's give him a shot at us. 847-931-1410. John Prigge has called on the station.
Hey, John.
Great. He's the man of the hour. Hey, John, how you doing?
Gentlemen, I'm so happy that you're talking about this because based on Mark's program this morning and today, you have talked 100% more than any member on the city council has had any time to talk about things like this and get an item on the agenda for simple discussion. That says a lot to me more than anything else. But I do want to ask Dean a question. Dean, you have experience with fires.
Sure.
When you looked at that fire and the flame and the size of the flame, do you think there was any accelerants used?
Yeah, in fact, the night of the fire, that's what I was speaking of. I was concerned that if there was, people buried in there, under blankets and what have you. But there was propane tanks out there. There was some type of kerosene, because they have those portable kerosene heaters. And when I saw that ball of fire in the one center, there was definitely something that accelerated it. Now, there's a lot of people going around saying it was set or maybe somebody set it. I don't know. I won't speak on that. I'll let the fire investigation, respond to that. But there was definitely, you could tell by the look of the fire and that seat of that fire, there was a lot of concentration at that one point. So if you're asking that question, that's my response to that.
Okay, and then let me ask you, just going forward, looking around the corner.
Sure.
After the fire department investigates this, what would you think would the public's response be if they found that the cooking of methamphetamines was taking place, and that is very highly combustible? Would that change anybody? Would they run back to all these restaurants that have been taking donations and take their coats back?
No, because I'll tell you what. You say there's 30 people living over there. How many of those individuals were involved? If your thought is right, they were maybe doing that. Let's say they were doing that, making the meth there. So maybe 1 or 2, 3 people that stepped out, no different than the community. 2, 4, 3 people violate a speeding rule. Are you going to, clamp down on every other person that doesn't? You know what I'm saying? I hear what you're saying.
Can I address this?
And I get you. Sure you can.
Hey,
but
John.
I get you on that.
Let's say that you're correct, and there was a meth lab down there at that area. The area that burned, we refer to as Little Mexico. All right, and it's where the homeless, a few of the homeless Mexican population lived. There's about a half a dozen guys down there. Okay, and it's actually set apart from the rest of the Tent City camp. When you walked into the camp, it was actually the first part down a hill right by the river where this Mexico City place was. And then you had to walk another, probably a good block further north to get to the rest of the camp. I can tell you that the rest of the people that are in that camp were not involved in any of that, if there was any of that going on, okay? Most of those people that are in the northern part of the camp have been there for years and years. It's a long time established camp. So whatever went on and whatever got lit on fire, it had nothing to do with the majority of the people that are living in Tent City.
Which is my point.
Okay, that's interesting. Then the next thing I just want to offer up is certainly a valid, in my opinion, a valid presentation and point, the politicalness of this. In Elgin, we have 2 lame ducks on the 9-person council. Carol Rauschenberger leaves in 5 months. So she can do whatever she wants now between now and the end of the 5 months. Dave Captain is going to be gone in about, I think he's 2.5 years. He's already proclaimed this is his last term.
Right.
So anything they do has really no accountability except personally. They don't want to, I'm sure they don't want to call BP Amico and say, here, put a $10 million tank of gas on the top of the roads here in Elgin. But I think that's important to look at, to see who is not in the concern level, who has never been in the concern level for this, especially when you have the politics involved in this. And thank God there's an election coming up in 5 months. And to anybody, any new people that are thinking about running, make sure you have a plan, because when you go to any other type of conversations with the public or there's a forum held, I would strongly urge that somebody has a plan to take care of this, or at least to start, because nobody's starting anything. I know. I sat in that back row. I sat on that dais. Nobody cares.
Well, thank you, John.
And it's not, and no task force is needed, no commission, nothing.
John, do it.
People that care.
You know the music, what it means. Hang on the phone, can you? Because there's a few more pieces we could go over, especially like with the council members, because I did make phone calls prior to this this forum, and I'd like to express that, okay? So would you hold on, and we'll come back in just a few short moments?
I'm flattered to ask. Yes,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, John Prigge, you're going to put him on hold here, and we're going to take a break. We're talking about the homeless situation here in the city of Elgin, and kind of based on the Tent City fire the night before last. More of it on the way on Deano's Night Out on WRMN.
This is WRMN News.
I'm Marky B reporting. It's just plain stupid. The standoff between an Elgin family and Burlington-based Central Unit School District 301 over whether a student with an accessible parking placard can use it at his high school without a school parking pass is over. Sharon Hoggy said during a Tuesday meeting with school district officials they were told her son Gavin could use the placard and park in an accessible spot. Gavin, 16 years old, suffered a concussion playing soccer as a sophomore for Central High School on the JV team in 2023. He still suffers from chronic headaches and sensitivity to light and sound over a year later. The family emailed the school officials before the school year began to notify them that Gavin had a state-issued accessible parking placard, but Central High official told them he would not be allowed to park at the school because he didn't have a school parking pass. Gavin applied for a parking pass through a lottery but was not selected before the school year or in a later lottery when spaces opened following a construction project. When he parked in an accessible space in November, he was threatened with detention and a disciplinary note was placed on his permanent record. But after further review of the situation, Burlington Central has backed off. Inflation hits Christmas trees. If you're hoping to celebrate this Christmas with a sweet smell of pine, you may need to shell out some extra cash. The average price of Christmas trees has increased by 10% since last year, mostly due to inflation and drought, according to the American Christmas Tree Association. Suppliers and growers of Christmas trees have had to pay more for raw materials, labor, and distribution, causing them to charge the public more if they want to survive. I'm Marky B, and this is the talk of the town.
WRMN News, produced in Studio 14 by the River Media Network.
Get ready for Around the House every Saturday night from 5 to 7 p.m. on WRMN AM 1410. If you're a homeowner or contractor looking to tackle those projects that feel a bit too big, this is the show for you. Join Eric along with his knowledgeable guests as they dive deep into everything from DIY renovations to creating a healthy home environment. We'll provide you with the tools and tips you need to complete your projects with confidence and ease. But it's not all work and no play. We believe in having fun. Our passion for home improvement shines through as we help you save time, money, and reduce the stress of DIY. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, don't miss Around the House. Tune in every Saturday night and let's tackle those home projects together.
Belux Bar and Grill, Wisconsin Dells, is the quintessential American grill and bar, with refined rustic cuisine and award-winning libations. Their honest, feel-good food menu is complemented by a beer list to satisfy every taste. Classic cocktails and our signature shakes, rich and creamy with a splash of boozy goodness just to shake things up a little bit. Belux Grill and Bar, classic American cuisine with a contemporary twist. Thanks for listening to WRMN 1410. Don't forget to join us every day for our Comfort Keepers feature. Comfort Keepers is a leading provider of in-home non-medical care for seniors and other adults in need of assistance with daily activities. Again, listen daily at 7:25 a.m. for our Comfort Keepers feature. And thanks for listening.
Welcome back to our panel discussion on this Friday afternoon, talking about homelessness. I'm Marky B, Mark Bialek. I'm an Elgin Township trustee, by the way. I'm joined by Dino Delaley, managing partner here of WRMN, former firefighter, former police. Mark Smith, Commander, American Legion. And we're also joined, of course, over here today by Dave Krieger with Wayside Ministries and Greg Schiller. And good conversation. And we have about 25 minutes left. We're also joined by John Prigge, who's on the phone and held through the break. So let's go back to John and continue the conversation. Deano, I know you wanted to talk more with John, right?
I did it.
Go ahead.
Okay, now we got a microphone. We're all on.
It's late in the day.
Are you back with us, John?
Yeah, Dean, where'd you get that suit at? And did they come in my size?
Yeah, what do you think? Come on by. I'll let you bring it to the tailor.
We'll talk later.
I got a free bowl of soup with it with my hat. So, the point I wanted to bring up is, I always love how direct you are, and I think you hear the way I talk. I think I'm pretty direct in a lot of my dialogue as well. But out of fairness, again, and I'm not the city's advocate, when this first broke and everything happened and we were talking, at the station here, I said, well, let's see who we can get together, because there's a lot of talk back and forth, what really happened, this meth lab thing and all that type of stuff. And it should at least be talked about. If that's what unfolds from the investigation, then that's what unfolds. But we did make phone calls, and I will tell you, as you said, like the city council doesn't do much, and that could be, because I don't know the total workings just yet. But I did reach out to Rose Ortiz, Anthony.
Rose Martinez, yeah.
Rose Martinez, I apologize.
Yeah.
Rose Martinez, Anthony Ortiz, and Tish Powell. And I'll be honest, I had great conversations with all three of them. They would have loved to have been on, but again, they had prior commitments. We gave them less than 24-hour notice, but they did say that they would love to have a conversation and they would openly talk about the situation at any time. So if this is what we're able to do to satisfy our listeners, to satisfy the people that aren't as pleased about what's going on, nobody should be pleased about what's happening out here. This homelessness is a situation, if you have any conscience, you would want to work toward correcting it. And then there's the other, parallels that go along with it. But, they are willing to talk, and they are willing to, even come onto the station, and we could put another panel together. So that, again, was the purpose of today, and I just wanted to stress that we did not get any indication of anybody sidestepping, even Chief Lally. You heard how direct she was with everything. So, she's the one that said she come on the job in 1996 as a patrol officer, and that's 29 years ago. And, there was a tent city back then. So it's been an ongoing situation.
It's been there for years.
Correct. You folks know more than me. And all I'm doing is, again, we're trying to bring everybody as our commitment to being, community broadcasting now, instead of that silly shopping show. We're going to try and get some good time. I always got to get it out, sorry. But, we want to get the real topics of what's going on in the Fox River Valley. And again, this does not just include Elgin. This is everybody around. So I just wanted to get that out to you, John, just so you know they will talk. And we'd love to have you in studio as one of the panel guests, if you wouldn't mind coming in.
And hey, John, I just wanted to chime in real quick, too. I mean, I did a quick search through the Illinois Municipal League earlier, and they actually have a template ordinance for any city, town, village to use to include penalties for, this camping, no camping within city limits, public camping, that sort of thing, includes penalties and that sort of thing. But I also agree with these gentlemen that somewhere to go is key as well, right?
Yeah,
so
you can't shut down the camps if you don't have anywhere to put them.
I grew up in Bloomington. We had the Home Sweet Home mission, right? So that's where they would go. So you have to have a place to redirect. But I also think if we continue to not have some sort of enforcement or violations like this ordinance lists say, the city would give 72-hour notice that we're taking it down, and then there's definitions for what's personal property, what's not personal property. If personal property was collected when somebody wasn't there, the city or the village hangs on to it for 30 days until claimed. If not, then disposed of. I mean, this lays it all out in whatever type of ordinance you'd need. right here.
You know, something interesting to watch too is in Humboldt Park, city of Chicago.
Oh, yeah?
They're going to be.
They're kicking them out of Humboldt Park.
Now, I don't know if that occurred or didn't occur.
There was an article about it that I read just earlier today, that today was going to be the last day.
Correct.
They were getting rid of the remaining tents and making everybody leave.
Yeah, because what's happened there was it was occupied, but they've been going across and seeing, just like
It was actually the largest tent encampment in the city.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But to your point with your sleeping bags, you gave all these nice sleeping bags, and they were all wet and soiled.
They were just abandoned.
Same thing has been going on. They thought these tents were occupied, and reality was 70%. Now that was just one report I heard. 70% were unoccupied, which is what sparked this. We're going to clear out the Humboldt Park now because there's less. But
Not being there, I can't speak to that. I tend to doubt that.
Seemed like a high number of vacancy to me too.
I would tend to doubt
especially
that.
with what's going on. But anyhow, that's all I wanted to say.
Come
on
to
that.
Elgin.
Now, I do want
One point.
to. Go ahead, John.
Can I? All right. Here's where you may have been smoked, Dean.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Right. Rose Martinez, Anthony Ortiz, Tish Powell agreed to go on the radio, right, and discuss this.
Okay.
Right? All right. Tell them to put it on a meeting agenda. You need two people.
Oh!
Tell them to put it on a meeting agenda so it can be videotaped. It's going to take longer than a 45-minute show or a half hour or an hour show. Get them under the lights of the city council dais. It takes two of them. Tell him to put it on the city manager, to put it on an agenda. The agenda is real light this time of year because the budget's going through. I want them in the council chambers. I don't want them on the radio. My God, between 2 or 3 people on the radio, an hour, and Mark, you know this, an hour flies like 10 minutes. I want them on the council. I want them on the dais, underneath those hot lights, and then everybody can talk.
I had a feeling you were going to say that, John, because they agree to be on the radio, but why? But you're saying why don't they put it on the agenda to talk about it at a city council meeting?
But we don't know that they won't either. Again, I'm just the guy that always likes to give a little benefit of the doubt. If we ask a question and then they say no, well, okay, there's our answer. But we have to start someplace. I think today, we've got 2 hours, well, less with our commercials, but close to 2 hours worth of content here. I think everybody had a little bit to say and brought some good ideas. I think truly, and again, my personal opinion, and I won't get off it, a mega center, put the egos aside, put the authorities aside, put everybody off to the side and say, you know what, we're all going to work together, whether it be street reach, whether it be wayside, whether it be the military, whether it's the city. But if you get all these social service groups and church organizations, whoever wants to help and start educating, helping these folks to better themselves, the ones that want to, because there's a handful that just...
Oh, there's a lot that are going to be service resistant.
And there's some that just don't even have the ability because of the maybe addiction that they're trying to beat.
Like there's basically 3 main groups. You have the addicted, you have the mentally ill, and then you have just a regular guy that found himself in a situation or maybe he made some bad decisions and some things that were out of his control occurred and he ended up homeless. But this is the guy who's not going to be on the street very long because he's going to figure out how to get himself out of what he's gotten himself into.
And if you have that group with the resources, giving him a little boost.
Yeah, he's going to get off the street quick. It's going to happen.
That's my only point.
They're the easiest to work.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thanks for your time, man. You've been very gracious. I really appreciate it. And Dean and Mark, thank you for pushing this onto your airwaves. Others would have ducked, but you guys are establishing yourselves as a source for talking and source for seeking opinions. And I applaud you for that. And I agree with you, Dean, about the shopping show. How does that...
Yeah, I got one. There you go. Now, there's more than the reason we made that decision. There was more people that did persuade me. It wasn't just I woke up one day and said, you know what, we're going to eliminate it. But it wasn't hard to do, I will tell you. But it's good. We want to be the community broadcasters. Thanks for your time, Jen.
Thanks, John.
You bet. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And you were going to?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something about a previous statement. I was talking about what we call Mexico City in
or Little Mexico?
Or Little Mexico
Yeah.
in Tent City. It's a very small area. Like I said, there was only about a half a dozen guys down there, and they were set apart from the rest of the camp. They weren't in control of anything. They wanted to be left alone. They stayed apart. They didn't really interact with the rest of the campers, and they were just a group of Hispanics that lived in their own little section of the camp. And what they did down there is whatever they did.
And I'm going to be just, again, me, the way I am. I just put it out there. When we were at the break, I kind of looked at, Greg just a little funny. Well, what were you trying to say? Because you have a guy that's bringing up, hey, there may have been a meth lab. Were you implying that could have been what was going on? But you're saying that's totally to the contrary, that little group that you're identifying, as best as you know.
If they were doing that kind of thing down there.
No knowledge of it.
Yeah, I know nothing.
And you would have.
I know real knowledge
Gotcha.
about it, but I can tell you that the rest of the camp didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, that's good. That's all I was trying to get across. I didn't want to draw or connect the two dots because there was a few people, and we've heard it, and Mark's heard it on several different
We've heard
comments.
the rumors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get that out of there, that wasn't
But
it.
I personally have never had my eyes on a meth
Great.
lab down there.
Good.
Well, let's go back to the phones because we have another call now. 847-931-1410. I believe this is someone who wants to talk about this. It's Skeet joining us here on the phone. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I'm just joining. I caught the end of the conversation that you guys had, so I don't know if it was really covered, but I blame the entire homeless issue on all the churches in Elgin. They're, obviously overfunded. They give like meals out, like catered, and they have no reason to go anywhere else. You look at Barrington or anything else, you think they have a homeless problem? They don't. They drive them over here.
What's the
and they dump them off, and they see everyone's getting, these catered meals every freaking day, and if it's cold out.
Skeet?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just answer some of what you're saying?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever been to a homeless shelter or if you've ever partaked. I've served several of them to homeless folks. It's not like you're going to a 5-star hotel. You're not getting shrimp and lobster and filet. You're getting the basics, enough protein to sustain, enough of starches, and a nice balance of vegetables. It's really not a situation like, they're being catered to and they're trying to make them at home. Churches don't have a big budget. They're not overfunded. These are donations from the parishioners, and that's where they're getting their funds.
Can I interject?
And plus the fact, you say, why doesn't Barrington have the problem? Because the Barrington people are over there in Elgin because they know Elgin does have resources that we had talked about earlier. And I'm not trying to tear down what you're saying. What you're saying is very valid. But just to bring you up to speed to some of the responses we had to what you were saying, a lot of people come to the Elgin area because there's more resources here. So if there's no resources in Barrington, where are you going to go with your hand out? Nobody. But if you come here, you'll be fed.
I don't know about you guys, but I know about growing up poor. I grew up in the inner city. My mother struggled to put food on the table. We had 4 people living in a 900 square foot house. There were 3 of us: my mom, my dad, my grandma, and my cousin, using 1 bathroom. I understand what it is to struggle, but you got to understand these people don't want to do anything. They just want to do whatever they want to do. And yeah, some might have substance problems, but that's all part of being.
Yeah, Skeet, you're generalizing, Skeet. You can't do that because that's not the case that may be the case for one small group of these people, but you've got other people that have other issues that keep them from being able to be a part of society for whatever reason.
We're institutionalizing homelessness here and giving them resources so they can continue on.
Well, they're people. We're not going to let them. We don't want them to die on the street.
No, we don't. But why do they have to? They all settle here. Why Elgin? We're not a rich community. We're all struggling as it is. Why do we have to put the burden on ourselves? Why can't all these other towns? I think it was Rose or C. Thor once said that why don't the rest of these towns pitch in, because Elgin's, taking the big burden of this, and it's unfortunate.
That was John, I think that was John Prigge one time said, well, why don't we reach out to these other communities and see if they'll put a little something in their budget to send to Elgin so that we can have extra resources to support the people they're sending our way.
You know how it was put to me, why Elgin? And this was the bottom line, because it's the end of the train line.
Yeah.
That doesn't pan out to me.
That's your answer. It's the end of the train line. Everybody in the area that's homeless, I've worked with homeless here for over 10 years, Skeet. I've seen where police departments have put homeless on a train and sent them to Elgin. Told them, here, we're paying for your train ticket. Don't get off the train until you get to Elgin. And then you get to Elgin, we have the churches, we have the resources, we have food. But let me tell you something. What these people are eating, I don't think you'd want to eat. Okay, everything that is being served at these soup kitchens, it's all expired food that's coming out of stores that can't sell it anymore. It's picked up by groups and brought to places like the Illinois Food Bank and the church pantries. Everything has an expiration date on it that's expired. I've seen them serving milk that is, a day away from being sour. Trust me, these people aren't eating gourmet, man.
You're I don't know what food banks you're going to, but I have a friend that works, and they get donations from Panera and Costco and Sam's Club. All this stuff isn't broken up food. This is all.
It's all expired.
That I would buy on clearance.
It's all, but it's all expired.
I buy stuff out of the clearance cart in Butea. I'm not any much further than they are, but I'm not living on just because I can. It's institutionalized. It's institutional homelessness, and we're giving them the resources to do it. And I'm sorry to say, but Elgin churches. And we keep on giving, the city council keeps on giving money to them, and they're not going to stop. You keep on, giving people, a way to keep with their drug habits and living in the forest. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, Skeet.
We need to stop doing it.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts.
Sure.
Okay. We're about 6 minutes away from the end, but I think Skeet made his points there. Greg, did you have more?
No, other than, his point's valid.
I agree.
But thank God that there is some place for people that find themselves without a home, without an income, on the street, especially here in the northern Midwest. I mean, right now it's wintertime. When we came in, it was 22 degrees outside. Okay? It was 12 degrees overnight. The other night it got down to 10. I for one am glad that I don't have to sleep in that, but there's some people that do. And thank God that there's a city here that has the resources and the ability to do the little bit that we do to actually keep people alive.
Yeah. So if I could jump in just very quickly, I know you're short on time.
No, we're good. I was going to ask your thoughts next, because you said you also thought he had a valid point.
Yeah, he has some valid points, and that's why. And actually, Greg, I hear what you're saying. I would be fully transparent here and say at Wayside, sometimes the food is good. Okay, I personally think that folks do eat well here. So when I see a guy standing on the corner and he says, I'm homeless and I need money for food, it's like, you don't need money for food. There's plenty of food in Elgin everywhere. Yeah. Some of it, some days, our guys say, oh, what's this, and it's close to being expired at times, but not always. There are some Panera Breads. Chick-fil-A came by the other day in response to this, and, good stuff, I think. My wife didn't want me to eat it, but this is why at Wayside, we want to help, but we expect a give and take. So when these folks are brought in and they sign on to our program, we expect them not to have the expectation to be there forever and ever, and that they're not going to stay there and just suck off and siphon all the resources. And if they don't, after a certain period of time, giving them the help and telling them what they need to do and encouraging them, then they're gone. They're not there. So I understand both sides, and they are human beings, and they're out there, and we do want to try to help them, get them off the streets, but then they have an obligation to respond as well. So it's kind of a give-take, carrot stick again.
It sounds like, but it sounds like this conversation is getting to what the city is trying to do in a way, as far as like figure out what this option is to possibly, at least if they're planning on eventually clearing out Tent City, then they're finding an option, a facility, whatever it is, creating one, and giving these people that option.
Slowly moving in that direction.
It takes a lot.
Yeah, and then Mark Smith, if there then becomes that option, and there's a lot of service-resistant people that don't want to take advantage of that opportunity, at that point, then you have the no camping in public places ordinance, things like that you put into place to try to enforce it with the people that refuse the service, right?
Right.
So, and to what Mark's trying to do then, and everybody here, it appears in what you're saying, I'm just trying to echo, that you find a location, again, might take a mega facility, you find a location, you find a place, the city gets involved, we have that location, now you can eliminate the tent cities, there's no more stuff on the street. Then you enact that ordinance that you're speaking of, and now there's the enforcement, so it doesn't reoccur.
If you look at every city that has successfully dealt with their homelessness problem, it has only occurred when the city stepped up and partnered with the organizations that were in place to help.
That we're implying here.
And everybody
Suggesting.
worked together.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's been part of the problem all along in Elgin. The city hasn't wanted to get involved. The city needs to be involved in what's going
But
on.
has the organizations, and I'll let you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Has the organizations offered their assistance? I mean, again, I'm sure you have, but I'm beyond you.
If you
there's
look
other
at
organizations.
Aurora,
Okay.
the Hesed House was set up through the help of the city of Aurora.
So it was successful.
And it was successful. They have a big place. They're able to take in people. They have several programs in place. They have their own clinic there. They even have their own store.
All of the parts that I'm trying to say. So then let's elevate the voices of organizations such as yourself and see if we can't get the attention of the city to say, look, we want to be your partner. I'm sure the commander with the veterans would be the first one jumping up in there.
Yeah, he is.
I see what he does with the veterans.
Yeah, we need everybody on the same page.
And just going back to my statement that I sent you the other day, I think, well, number one, thank God nobody was killed or hurt in this event,
yeah.
right? I applaud the Elgin Fire and Police on their response, but the council and the city, the paid employees, that run in the city, I mean, this has to be moved to the top of the priority list to find the solution and to find that partnership. I mean, this has to go straight to the top.
Yeah. Instead of this, we're working on it, we're working on it. It's time to make it happen.
Yes.
And not just work on it.
And Mark even said before, well, hey, you know what? This is a wake-up call. I believe you were the one.
Yeah, and it was thankfully kind of a safe wake-up call in a way. Nobody got hurt.
This wasn't the first fire that we've had in Tent City.
But they dodged a serious bullet.
They did.
Because nobody was hurt. And
None of the businesses along the railroad
thank-
tracks were damaged.
We thank the Lord that nothing
They
happened.
dodged a huge bullet.
Sure they did. This is a great panel. I appreciate everybody coming
thanks
in.
for the invite.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Mark,
We'll
good
do it
job.
again. We'll do it again.
Dennis put together a lot of questions here and put together a lot of the phone calls making this happen as well.
Thanks, Sonar, for helping us out today. Thanks, Greg, on such short notice for coming in.
You bet.
And nice to meet you, Dave. We'll have you back soon, I hope.
Thank you very much.
Mark Smith, I know we'll have you back
Yeah,
soon.
nice meeting everybody.
All right, Deano, thanks,
Yeah,
man.
you're stuck with me. The conversation continues, folks. I mean, we have all these resources. You can reach out to us. Please do so. Take it away, Mark.
All right, that's going to wrap things up today. Deano's Night Out, a special edition today talking about the homeless situation and the fire in Tent City the night before last. Sonar and Ben are in next, and they're going to have a political talk show, so stick around. Keep it right here on WRMN. Have a great weekend. Stay warm. Talk to you Monday morning, myself at 6 a.m.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the better business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org. Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Pro tip, the BBB connects people.